And joining us now live from Bangkok, Thailand is Michael Bociurkiw. Michael, thank you for joining us and providing your expertise. You're a global affairs analyst and senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, and also the former spokesperson for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. So I believe you are just the person to talk to about all this. We are just getting word of new attacks on Ukraine this morning, and we just saw a video from Russia's deadly strike on Zelensky's hometown. Putin clearly continuing to pressure Ukraine. So what does this tell you about the state of the war at the moment?
Sure. Good to be with you, Brian. Well, it's hard to believe, but about 3 days ago, there was a headline saying Ukraine had 0 Russian drone attacks over a 24-hour period. But then all of us thought, well, the Russians are probably stockpiling. And indeed, sadly, that's what's happening. Your report on Kryvyi Rih, death toll there is around 20 now, and the number of injuries trending to almost 100. So very, very bad. And yes, just a few hours ago, I was checking Ukraine Telegram channels, Kiev Mayor Vitaly Klitschko saying that 3 districts of Kiev have major fires. There's been a major business center that is half destroyed. And there's also reports of strikes on Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine. And interestingly, Poland once again activated its missile defense systems and deployed fighter jets because the Russian strikes were happening so far into western Ukraine this time. So as things go over the past 2 or 3 days, very, very bad.
Okay. I want to go back for a moment to the campaign trail, because President Trump then was saying that he could make a deal in 24 hours to end the war in Ukraine. Here we are, some 75 days now into the second presidency, and what we are now hearing is negotiations are, quote, going well. Yet Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Friday that the U.S. needs to, quote, begin to see real progress from Russia soon. So has Mr. Trump found a deal he can't make here? And if so, what direction does this war go?
Yeah, it's hard to believe he made that promise. And he also, to remind viewers, he promised to bring peace to Gaza. Well, it's going the other way in both theaters of conflict. To make matters worse for Ukraine, Brian, is we were shocked to read the other day during the so-called Liberation Day tariff blitz that Ukraine and Moldova were each slapped with, I believe there were 10% tariffs. The U.S. has the trade surplus with Ukraine, so that got a lot of head scratching in Ukraine. But the Russian side clearly does not show any interest in negotiating peace. In fact, President Putin has recently said, get rid of the Zelensky government and let's put in a UN transitional government. Absolutely absurd idea. And I think, you know, one would think that Mr. Trump would be sitting there and saying this is a sign of disrespect for Russia to keep on hammering Ukraine as it is, showing, again, no signs of peace and no sign of giving up any territory. So it may be worth the Ukrainians turning to the Saudis and saying, OK, you guys negotiate instead of the Americans. Maybe there'll be more progress in that regard.
Well, maybe you just answer my next question a little bit there with that statement. What kind of leverage, if any, does the U.S. hold over Russia at this moment that could move Putin closer to a ceasefire? What would it take for Russia to agree to that? And really, what's Putin holding out for?
Yeah, well, very little leverage. In fact, it seems Russia is the one that has the most leverage. In fact, 2 days ago at the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand right here, there was a panel on Radio for Europe, Radio Liberty, and Voice of America, and just journalists shaking their head. What is the U.S. doing, cutting off funding to these very, very important entities that are so important, spanning the globe from nearby Myanmar here to Ukraine to Russia? These entities, these U.S.-funded broadcast outlets were the kind of digital Berlin Wall, if you will, against Russian disinformation. And then we're also learning that the U.S. is making it easier for Russian members of Putin's circle to come into the U.S. and buy multi-million-dollar properties. So to kind of sum it all up, you know, it seems Russia is getting many, many concessions from the Trump team without giving much in return.
All right, Michael Bociurkiw. Michael, appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.